Hi, Bucklake. I'm here in the family room with Chloe. She's laying down. There she is. She's gonna listen today, maybe, to, no. You don't wanna lay down? Oh, I thought she was gonna lay down. Oh, well, there she goes. All right, I'm gonna start on chapter 16 of The Collector. I'm gonna scoot forward a little bit since she's gone. So sit back, relax, and here we go. Vanessa had been lying about one thing. Her aunt was definitely a collector of strange objects. Getting closer, I saw that besides the old mannequins and broken down baby carriages, complete with baby dolls with spiders living in their eyes, the bird baths had piles of doll heads covered in moss. I tried not to look too closely as Vanessa led us up her overgrown path toward the house, but it was impossible not to stare. The whole place smelled like wet earth and leaves, and it was definitely colder. But maybe it was just because the trees leaned in here, making the whole place shaded and eerily quiet. I kept trying to tell myself, actually, let me get a pillow, hold on. There we go. I better get a bunny too. Okay, now, here we go. Where was I? I kept trying to tell myself that I hadn't actually seen this place in my dreams. It was some weird deja vu or something. Then Anna stopped and whispered in my ear, "I don't want to go in there." "It's okay," I replied. "She's our friend. It's just a strange house and we don't want to be rude." Anna seemed like she wanted to argue, but she didn't get the chance. Vanessa unlocked the front door and opened it, and rather than a creepy life-size doll staring out there was just the scent of cinnamon and baking cookies. The hallway inside looked warm and bright and completely normal, just like any other house. Anna clung to my arm tightly in spite of how welcoming the place looked. For a moment, I was reminded of Hansel and Gretel. This place didn't look like a gingerbread house built by a witch, but it sure smelled like cookies meant to lure in small children. "Come on in," Vanessa said, "but please take your shoes off at the door." I couldn't imagine an evil witch asking kids to take off their shoes. My imagination was just running full speed. Vanessa was just a girl, and this was just a quirky house. We went in and took off our shoes. Vanessa closed the door behind us. I got a small bit of relief from noting that she didn't lock it, but that relief was short-lived because next I noticed the dolls. They were everywhere. Dolls the size of my hand and dolls as big as me, every shape and color and size, wearing every type of clothing you could imagine. There were dolls in dresses and dolls in overalls, dolls with long hair or short hair or no hair at all. Hundreds and hundreds of dolls. I couldn't see their faces though, because every doll was facing the wall. Every single one. Anna wouldn't budge from the doorway. I didn't move either. I could see into the room just off the hall, and they were filled with dolls too. "Oh," Vanessa said, noticing our hesitation. She had been heading down the hall like it was the most normal place in the world, but when she stopped to look back, she fingered her locket and bit her lip. "Yeah, I guess I should have mentioned those." She walked up to a doll and touched its head. She almost looked a little sad. "My aunt's been collecting these ever since she was a little girl. She has too many to count." She laughed slightly. "I tried getting her to sell them a few times, but she loves them like they're her children. Dusting is a nightmare. They take some getting used to. I guess you did say she was a collector." "You have no idea," she replied. "Why are they looking away?" Anna asked. Her voice was a whimper. "That was my doing," Vanessa said. She giggled a little. "I moved in a few years ago, and they really creeped me out. I asked her to hide them, but she said she liked having them on display. But she said I could turn them around so they weren't always looking at me. So many eyes. She shivered theatrically and then smiled. Come on, I think my aunt made cookies, and there aren't nearly as many dolls in the kitchen. Reluctantly, Anna and I followed her in. It was almost worse walking down the hall and having all the dolls facing away, like they were scared or ashamed or in timeout. I kept waiting for one to turn around and glare at us. Anna clutched my arm so tight, I hoped she didn't leave a bruise. She was probably wishing she hadn't come along, even with the promise of internet. At least the kitchen wasn't as cluttered with dolls. There were a few on a spice rack and one sitting inside a hanging saucepan and a couple on the fridge, which was covered in old doll-shaped magnets. Compared to the hallway and the rooms I'd glanced at in between, the kitchen looked pretty normal. The appliances were fairly new and the counters were cleared, no clutter. In fact, save for the dolls, everything in the house seemed to be pretty organized. I guess in their own way, the dolls were organized too. And as the smell promised, a plate of chocolate chip cookies was laid out on the kitchen table. Would you like milk with your cookies? Vanessa asked. She ducked into the fridge as she spoke. The inside was also fully stocked. Okay, minus the dolls, I guess the place wasn't that strange. Maybe it wasn't so bad. I'd had a friend in elementary school whose parents collected lawn flamingos inside and out. I told myself this was just about as weird, nothing to be worried about. Yes, please, Anna said. She seemed to have already forgotten about the dolls. She had a cookie in hand and was sitting at the kitchen table eating away happily. I asked for a glass as well and sat next to Anna. Where's your aunt? I asked. Vanessa paused for a moment. She must be asleep. Her eyes glanced at a closed door off the kitchen as she poured us milk. Her new medication tires her out. I bet she got exhausted after making us cookies. I told her you were coming over. I immediately felt guilty that her aunt had made herself tired just so we could have cookies. Even though they were a little burnt, I didn't say anything. I ate 3. I didn't want her aunt to feel worse if she came back to a full plate. We sat around and talked for a while. Vanessa asked Anna all about her classes and teachers, the friends she was making, and what she thought of the school and the town. I was used to Anna being quiet around people, strangers and my friends especially, but she was so talkative with Vanessa that it almost felt like listening to a different person. Anna even started telling Vanessa things she hadn't told me yet, like the names of the kids who were mean to her and which teachers she thought smelled bad. What? Why does a teacher smell bad? That's weird. Do you like living with your grandmother? Vanessa asked. She makes us follow these weird rules, Anna said. She didn't even lower her voice. Like we can't leave the windows open at night, but that's okay. There are bad things out in the woods. That's one of the rules too. We can't go into the woods. She looked outside. I guess we broke that rule though. Anna, I said warningly. I glared at her. She was too far away to kick under the table, though it was too late now. It's okay, Vanessa said. Everyone has different rules, and your grandma's right. The woods can be dangerous if you go out alone, but there haven't been any bears or anything like that for, well, forever, I think. I've never seen any. It's not bears, Anna said, despite my warning glares. It's monsters. That made Vanessa laugh. I looked at her suddenly wondering if she was making fun of us or thought we were stupid, but it didn't seem like it. If anything, she seemed to take my sister seriously. What sort of monsters? Vanessa asked, all smiles gone. I don't know, Anna said, but I hear them at night. They give me bad dreams. One time I dreamed about crash! Anna and Vanessa both jumped. I pretended to as well. But what they didn't know was that I'd intentionally pushed my glass of milk off the table. It had shattered on the floor, spilling milk everywhere. That was a bad move. I felt bad for breaking a glass and making a mess, but I would have felt much worse if Anna had given our dreams away. Vanessa was my friend, so it should have meant I could trust her with anything, but my dreams were a line I didn't want to cross with anyone. I'm so sorry, I said, and I hopped off my stool. It was an accident. That's okay, Vanessa replied. She went and got some paper towels and a broom. I helped her clean it up, being very careful not to get cut on the glass. It happens all the time. Why does that happen all the time? When she went to the back porch to throw the glass in a trash can, I went over and whispered into Anna's ear, "Don't you dare tell her about our dreams." "Why not?" she asked, clearly confused and a little hurt. "She's our friend." "Yes, but that doesn't mean you should tell her everything." "Why?" Vanessa came back and I shot Anna another glare before going back to mopping up the spilled milk. Hopefully she would listen. If not, she definitely wasn't staying in my room again. "Would you like another glass?" Vanessa asked. "No," I replied, "that's okay. We should probably get going. Mom wanted us back for dinner." That was another small lie. Mom wanted us back before dark, but that wouldn't be for a few more hours. I just didn't want to wait around on the chance that Anna would say something I'd regret. Next time, I was going to be coming here without her. "Aw," Anna whined, "I haven't even gotten to use the internet." "Next time," I replied. I tried to smile warmly at Vanessa. It was hard. I knew if I dragged this out, Anna would really start protesting. "We don't want to wear out our welcome." It was something I'd heard my mom say many times when she wanted to leave but didn't want to be impolite. "You aren't," Vanessa said. She sighed, and for some reason that made her look sadder than she should have been. I don't get friends over very often. Made me feel really bad for her. Being unique also often meant being lonely. "I'll definitely be back over," I assured her. I was very careful not to say "oh we," so Anna wouldn't say I was lying later. "Our mom just gets a little nervous when we're in new places, so I don't want her freaking out now," which was true. Back in Chicago, it had taken her a good month to be comfortable with me staying over at my friends' places for more than an hour, and that was after she got to meet their parents. I wondered if Vanessa's aunt would be well enough to meet my mom soon. This place was creepy, but it was at least a little better than inviting her over to mine. I didn't want to have to introduce her to my grandmother. After Anna's babbling, I was almost embarrassed. "Before you go," Vanessa said. She didn't complete her thought, just skipped out of the room. "I don't want to go yet," Anna said, frowning at me. "I'm your older sister," I replied, "and I say it's time to go home." She opened her mouth to argue, but Vanessa was back then. She had something hidden behind her back. "This is for you," Anna said. "I've had it since I was your age." She revealed the hidden gift. My heart dropped when I saw it. It was a tiny porcelain doll, old and wearing a faded sundress. It was very creepy, and there was no way Grandma Jeannie would allow it in the house. "I don't think I can," Anna said, looking at me for reassurance. "It's okay," Vanessa said. "You can give her back in a few weeks if you'd like. She's a very special doll. She keeps bad dreams away." I was torn. I knew that we couldn't bring the doll back. It was against Grandma Jeannie's very strange rules, but I also knew that it'd be rude to decline, and that having the doll would mean Anna wouldn't want to stay in my room anymore. It'd be nice to sleep on my own. I couldn't remember the last time I'd had any real privacy. And maybe if I could get over the embarrassment, it meant the potential to have Vanessa over for slumber parties. Anna didn't answer. She kept looking at me for guidance. "That's a really nice gift," I said. I went over and took the doll, examining it. It was even creepier up close. One of its painted eyes was smudged, and its smile looked, well, evil. One corner was twisted up almost in a sneer. If it helped Anna sleep, though, it was worth it. "I think it's very nice of Vanessa to let you borrow it," I said. handing it to Anna. But Grandma Jeannie will understand. She doesn't want you having nightmares either. I thought of her standing on the porch yesterday afternoon, muttering what I thought must have been a spell or gibberish. It seemed like Grandma Jeannie was trying very hard to keep us from having nightmares. But that was just silly. Grandma wasn't a witch, and the doll wasn't magic. It was just something to convince Anna that she wasn't having bad dreams, even though it wasn't actually doing anything. Thank you, Anna said. She took the doll and hugged it close. Okay, we better go. It's probably a long walk back. Vanessa shook her head and smiled and pointed to the woods we could see through the backyard. It's not a long walk at all. Your grandmother's house is right through there. We're neighbors. It felt like my heart stopped and everything went cold. We weren't just in the woods. We were in the woods behind Grandma Jeannie's house. We were where Beryl lived. Shouldn't have broken the rules. Shouldn't have gone to the woods. This chick is creepy and I don't like that doll. Till next time.